Welcome back to another episode of Ingredients for a Better Life. I'm DNA Chef Jay, joined weekly by Dr. Robert Nettles, MD, the founder, chief medical scientist, Stop and Regrow. And Doctor, on this, coming off this Easter holiday, how are you doing this week? For me, Easter is always forget New Year's Day, New Year's Eve. Easter is the time when to reboot and restart, I believe, and that's where we're at is how to better ourselves, and we're doing it this week from a nutritional standpoint based on the video. So I just wanted to check in with you and see how, first of all, how are you doing, Doctor?
I'm doing great, Chef Jay. It is finished. He is risen. So nothing much for us to worry about down here besides getting it right, one day at a time. And you and I have been given the opportunity to help people maximize and optimize their health. So I appreciate the opportunity to come on your show each week.
So to get right to it, I received a comment from someone in South Dakota, Peter in South Dakota. He says, Chef Jay, first thing I do after my morning coffee is I said, stop right there, Peter, because right there, I said, first of all, what's in that coffee? And he says, oh, well, I just use some almond milk and a little bit of vanilla. I said, you got two things wrong before you even started the day. First thing I do when I start my day, even before coffee, is my supplementation. And that comes in, from Dr. Nettles, and you have to, be on the program and get blood work done for this. And after that, I'll go in and have coffee. But I said to him, what was in your coffee? A little vanilla vanilla sweetener, but not much. I said, well, you're already started off wrong. You're taking in sugar first thing. And, Leviticus 17 says, Doctor, what the life of any creature is in the blood. And he says, how do I get this Dr. Nettles supplement? Where do I buy it? Not that easy. First, you have to get your assessment done. So we're in this age of convenience. Buy it. It comes to you, but this is not available without, a diagnosis, without finding out the cause. So I just wanted to start with that. With first of all is we could talk all day long. We're going to talk about part two of this video, this study about nutritional supplements and hair regrowth and what works, what doesn't work, the saw palmetto, the biotin, all this stuff that you can get. But the thing that's going to work is the thing that you need to find out the cause for. So let me hear your thoughts on that, Doctor, as I enjoy my first bit of coffee.
Well, that sounds right, Chef Jay. You mentioned precision, and that's what the blood work allows us, is precision. So imagine the first set of human beings that wanted to see with eyeglasses, or they wanted to see with the contact lenses. So they all wanted to see, but you can't just walk in and grab a pair of glasses, right? It wouldn't work like that, because there is a precise calculation that goes into each of those spherical glasses that go into the frames for people to be able to see, because each of those eyes might be precisely imbalanced and necessitate a prescription that would be different than the other eye in the same person. So definitely one set of glasses wouldn't work for another patient. And that's what we're learning about supplements today, is that your supplement would not be most optimal or most beneficial or most correct for another individual. And that's even within the family, because the biomarkers, the molecular biomarkers, are so precise and unique to the individual that even within the families, we have different variations in the formulations that we create. And as you mentioned, we've got clients on now 6 continents, and we've got entire families on the program, husbands and wives, mother and daughters, fathers and sons. It's a supplementation type of program that in 50 years, I think 65-75% of humans will be taking a individualized supplement. And our push is to base it on the blood work and not just a generalized supplement, but everyone's going to be taking a supplement. Our push is for the precise supplement, and that means we have to determine your molecular structure, which sounds scientific and science fiction, but today we use an X-ray to look at individuals' blood, and it represents them in a molecular structure.
So let's go ahead and talk about the nutrients that do work within the diet once we treat what the cause is, and now we have our prescription supplementation coming in, and now we're fueling our bodies to fight and to be in the best position within that Nile River. What are the nutrients that do work when you are putting people on the program and putting their nutritional game together?
Well, first thing you realize is that over 95% of the human body is comprised of protein. So very little sugar in the diet other than momentary fuel to run the machines. And then you have fat in the cell walls and fat in the brain tissue and the hormones. So you've got most of the diet should consist of protein. So we discussed bookending your day, which is bringing in protein first thing in the morning, which most people forget to do or don't have in their routine. And then bookending at night, having the protein before you go to bed. Most people miss that opportunity as well. So that's 2 out of the 5 opportunities within a given day to optimize your protein. And then for snacks at 3 p.m. in between the lunch and the dinner is another time to sneak in 20 to 30 grams of protein. As you've discussed in previous episodes, the small intestines has a rate limiting step where it can only absorb 6 to 10 grams of protein based on the protein source. So you can mathematically determine what every human should be consuming. And when you hear people that tell you their diet consists of 160 grams of protein, 250 grams of protein, well, I would ask them to check their toilet bowls. There's probably 75 to 80 grams of protein that come in through a fast source, like a nutrient bar with 62 grams of protein, impossible to absorb, or a liquid source of 50 grams of quick protein in a chocolate malt, impossible to absorb. So I think that's why the patients aren't getting the gains. And the best way to determine any of these opinions is to factually examine their blood using X-rays. And that's no longer science fiction. It's things that happen today. And we can use an X-ray machine to count all of the molecules of all of the different types of available molecules inside each human's body to determine the imbalances. And it's sort of like a more complex seesaw, and the molecules can be traced, tracked, monitored, optimized. And we've been doing this with things like blood pressure for 2 to 3 decades, inhibiting enzymes, regulating enzymes to work on blood pressure. We're doing this with lipids to try to get the cholesterol levels down. So this type of enzyme regulation has been going on for quite some time. It's the first time we've utilized this type of methodology for hair loss, because no one knew, and still no one does know besides us, the underlying cause of every hair loss case. Every hair loss case is determined by the underlying chemical imbalances in the bloodstream, which are caused by an underlying enzyme defect that needs to be regulated. And sounds complex, but these are just steps that can be followed. And we've been doing it for now 2 decades. And the enzymes can be regulated, amounts of hormones can be optimized, and the DNA inside the hair cell that grew hair when you were 15 and 16 years old is the same functional DNA inside the hair cell. We just simply need to optimize the signals from the outside, and that term is known as epigenetics. And that's the new methodology of treating hair loss in any functional disease. And that is covered under precision medicine or molecular medicine or atomic medicine. But at the end of the day, Chef Jay, they're all molecules that can be examined and monitored.
So a lot of it, we're talking, just to recap, we've moved from this cellular technology, cellular medicine of the old days, x-rays, things like that, to a molecular technology, which is what you utilize. But it's kind of there's a twofold, problem, I feel, in North America, the United States. It used to be you'd go to the doctor, your intern doctor, and you'd say, hey doc, yep, annual blood work, cholesterol, those kind of things, and he'd say, okay, stay away from the chicken wings, don't eat those burgers, and you'll be fine. And then you go back to the same thing every year. It's don't eat this. But we're finding on our program that people aren't getting in enough of the fats and proteins that make up. You look at your brain, or what is the brain made of? Made of protein, fat, and water. There's no sugar in there, right? And but people aren't getting enough fat and protein, is what I'm saying. And the two-part question is, why is it why are the medical professionals so still in the dark about it? We're kind of moving towards a preventative thing, and why is the diet in North America, United States, so horrific and just so part of the cause? It's not making the fight any easier. So that's kind of a twofold question I had for you.
Well, that's a very good analysis, Chef Jay. Is that most of the companies that are working on health and weight optimization, weight loss, are focusing on do not levers, do not levers, do not levers. And as you mentioned, the true analysis is that there is under consumption of the right nutrients. And if you consume enough of the right nutrients, you run out of room to put in the wrong nutrients. So you mentioned it. So people throughout the day are not taking the 5 opportunities to eat 20 to 30 grams of protein. There's 150 grams of protein per day. That'll fill you up. And then on top of that, you mentioned the HDL, the good fat. Where's the avocado, full avocado per day? That's going to fill you up for one of those meals. And then where are the almonds? Where are the nuts that are going to come in to get the protein and the HDL for the snack? So there's another source. You add in the hard-boiled eggs, there goes a third. And you realize 2 meals here and there, Chef Jay, is not too much to think about throughout the day. It's the not doing enough of the right thing. So people say, hey, doc, these bad habits, boy, they are hard to break. I say, yeah, you're right. I got a master's in human behavior. Bad habits are hard to break. And boy, they feel relieved for a moment. And then I come back, Chef, I say, bad habits are hard to break. And I said, Tom, so are good habits. The goal in life is habits, right? Is to get out of the bad ones, get into the good ones, because idle hands, devil's workshop. So the goal is to
Yeah.
get into the habits of eating and consuming in the morning protein, at night protein, 3 p.m. snack protein, HDL avocado, a can of tuna fish, getting the food sources that they need. And then the other micronutrients that people can sell you on the shelves are less important because the macro, the big stuff, are lined up.
So yeah, we're talking about getting these nutrients from whole foods, and I'm not talking about the grocery store, but um, you know, so we'll talk breakfast. Eggs are great, for protein. Spinach is great. Any leafy greens, if it's green or orange, most likely it's good for you, right? Except for carrots, of course, because they have a lot of sugar. But like sweet potatoes, leafy greens, those B vitamins are good for us, right, doctor? As well. But we have to be careful with certain vegetables, certain fruits because of the sugar that it gets converted to once we ingest. But if it has a seed in it, most likely it's better choice. And if it's leafy and orange, like a sweet potato and some kale or some spinach, it's a good choice, over things that have lots of sugar like carrots and beets. Nuts, as you said, for mid morning snacks are great. Almonds, things that aren't sweet, not sugared. And then we move into avocados. Avocados are the superfood, right? And I tell people now to, instead of using butter, or instead of using, if you get a perfectly ripe avocado, there's your butter, source that you can trick yourself with. A lot of times it's tricking behaviors. So you still can satisfy that want with a good habit that's actually building something, not causing damage. And then those omegas coming from fish. I find a lot with younger people, especially, they're wanting to do plant-based, vegan. I don't want to eat animals. But that makes the fight even harder to get those protein sources, right, doctor?
Well, the protein sources for sure. They're going to have to find some beans, right? And mix in, as you mentioned, some of those leafy vegetables like the spinaches that are high also in the proteins.
Yeah. So again, the first thing to do is to stopandregrow.com, check what's going on inside, find out the cause, get in touch with doctor. You can leave any question when you sign up for your free consultation. And then, doctor, we'll see you next week. I have to get out of this rain. And thanks for joining me. And we'll talk again next week on Ingredients for a Better Life.
Yeah. Thank you, Chef Jay. Appreciate it.
All right. God bless.